Alright, this is the introduction for the Retrieval Enhancement Appendages, REAs, a fancy name for attachable Kinect's arms here. And what they do is you open them up just by pulling on this, and if you could bring the camera down a little bit just so they can see. And when you pull on this, they open up, and then you let go and they'll close back in, down on the thing that you're trying to collect. And another benefit is that if you have something already collected in here, they'll be able to retain that item inside of the net, and you won't lose those things. And then if you're going to try to retrieve multiple items at a time, it'll keep it on there, and then when you're ready to collect the next item, you open them up and close them again, and then they'll always be able to keep those items in here and maintain them in there as you bring the SeaPerch back up to the surface. What you see here is one of the arms of the REAs, followed by a list of needed materials. Now we'll proceed to show a step-by-step process of exactly how you would go about making one of these arms. Feel free to pause while following these instructions. These last couple slides are to show what they look like together and that they're just exact mirror parts of each other. And the last slide here is where you see all of the materials needed in order to complete the arms. Alright, so now you have your part, and in order to connect it to your SeaPerch, what I've done is I've drilled a couple holes, just big enough for the width of these pieces here. And you'll notice that I also cut off a little bit of those ends so that they'd be able to fit inside that hole more easily. So I've just slid those two pieces into those holes there, and if you'll notice the top is still loose, what you can do is I've put a piece of string through here and just mounted it so it would keep it held back right there. See, I've got this threaded through now, and now all I have to do is tie this tight and then we'll be secure. I've cut two strings in order to apply to the pivots up there, and each of them are almost 2 feet in length. You'll see up to 22 inches there. If you have extra, that's never a problem. You can always cut off the extra, and now go ahead and start threading these. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and thread this right through this hole. See the second hole right after that little pin, and you pull it through. Then you take both ends and wrap them around the back like that, and then you'll push them past here, and then you're ready to mount that through to your bicycle braking cable. That's how they'll sit right there when they're ready to start functioning, and then they'll pull on those pivots like that. Okay, this is a bicycle braking cable. It consists of two parts. The first is the shaft there. It's just a hollow tube that the wires go through. This is the wire. This is about as long as you can get from a regular bike store, but you can buy stock lengths online for a bit less expensive. This is about a 9-foot length cable and is typically used for tandem bicycles, so that's about as long as you can get those. And what you do is I'll go ahead and I'll thread this piece of the metal through right here. Alright, once you have it in all the way, a lot of them will have this little bead attached to them already. That's fantastic. So that'll keep it from going through. And then if you take a look off on this other end, you have a little bit of length sticking out. Now when this end is pushed all the way in through the entire cord over there, you should have about 5 inches there sticking out at the end. If you have a little bit more, that's okay, but that's about what I have it at. Now what I'm going to do is I've taken one of these holes that was already drilled here, and I've drilled on the back of it so that it has a hole there that's actually smaller. The diameter is smaller than this metal piece here, and the reason for that is that I can go ahead and I can stick the wire down through this part right here, and then the tip of the metal, or of the shaft, will actually be braced against the underside there. Okay, so now the shaft is situated here. We have this wire piece sticking out, and we also have these 4 strings ready to be connected to that wire right there. So I bent the wire in half with some pliers, and so now I'll be able to hook the threads through that little loop there and just tie them around there. So I put a couple slip knots into the strings so I could adjust them back and forth. And as you adjust them, what happens is when you tighten them, they go further back, and when they're loose, they kind of come forward again. And you want to get right here at this level there, to where they're even with the front of the SeaPerch, just like that. So now I've reattached this bracing piece, and you are ready to go. Okay, and just as a matter of instruction here, you see these little pins there that the string is going around. The reason for those is to give the SeaPerch, the string here attached to it, a little bit of a moment arm. Pull on it from back a ways, it'll be able to open. And just to illustrate this a little bit, I'm going to take these off, slide those out there, and now I'll tighten it back up. And if you try to do the same thing, it takes a whole lot more effort, and then it hardly moves, and I'm probably going to break something. But that's the reason for those pins. It distances the pull of the string away from the pivot point a little bit, and allows it to be pulled out more easily. Alright, so now you've got everything connected. You got your wire connected to your strings, and you got them all tight, so they're about the right set right here, so they're kind of pointing straight down. And then when you pull on this, the other end of that cable on there, you can see that they open up, and you let them go and they close. So you go down to the bottom of your pool or whatever, and you open them up, and you can approach the object that you're going to pick up, and then you just release, and then it closes around, and it will collect the item and keep it safely on the net.